Hey there, internet friends. Welcome to another episode of That Nerdy Site Show, a weekly podcast where the team members from That Nerdy Site get together to talk about our lives and all of the nerdy things we love about them. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and joining me once again, Cameron Abbott. How you doing, Cam?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
What's going on is you and I are going to be playing some catch-up on a bunch of games we've been playing the last few weeks. We were off a couple weeks ago because you were under the weather. Last week we did our Deadpool and Wolverine spoiler cast, so we've got like a few weeks worth of just kind of general gaming things to catch up on. So topics that we're going to hit today include Cameron's Final Fantasy XIV Dawntrail review. I played Thank Goodness You're Here, so I'll kind of share my thoughts on that. Cameron has been streaming a lot of Zenless Zone Zero. If you haven't been catching those, go check them out. I revisited Metal Gear Solid 5, and then I've also been playing through Metal Gear Solid 1 for the first time, so I'll share some thoughts on that. And Cameron has been playing the Mecha BREAK open playtest. So if you're interested in any of those things, check the time codes below. If you like what you hear, please remember to like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with your friends, all those fun things. So Cam, kick us off. We talked at length in the past about like Dawntrail in I think one or two previous episodes where you're kind of getting your sea legs on it, playing out the Viper class and some kind of early campaign thoughts. So now that you're all done with everything, barring all of the like, what are we in? 6.0, 7? Okay,
So 7.
all the 7.1 to 7.5 stuff that'll come down the line. What did you think of 7.0, aka Final Fantasy XIV Dawntrail or Final Fantasy XIV Dawntrail?
I really enjoyed my time with it. I think that it is a fantastic game. Still, like it continues it's Final Fantasy XIV, so the foundations it's building upon are solid as all fuck. Like it is a solid base that they're building off of. I to keep my review pretty short, because if you haven't checked it out, I did a couple hour long spoiler cast.
Yeah, you did a spoiler filled one. So
yeah.
I guess this would be your spoiler free.
Spoiler free, with my when I did that, by the way, if you go watch that, I was like wavering on where I was going to score it, and I kind of like talked my way through where I was sitting with it. Overall, Dawntrail for me is a 9.0.
That amazing game.
Yep, that amazing game. I think it teeters between an 8.5 and a 9.0. If I wanted to like actually give it like its actual score, I would give it like an 8.75, but I round those up. Just out of because of the potential that the post-launch content has. From what I played of the post-campaign content, it's poised to be like right up my alley as far as stuff that I like. And so that, considering all of that, like that's where I'm scoring it. I think that this is a very, I'm going to put it out there. This is a very Stormbringers-esque, not Stormbringer, sorry. Stormblood-esque expansion where your personal feelings about particular characters will determine like your mileage on how it goes. And it may vary. Like, in Stormblood, very famously, like because of the split campaign setting, as well as whether or not you liked Hien and Lys, like depending on how much you like those two characters and their respective regions, meant like how you'd gauge that and how you'd enjoy that. Mm-hmm. That is very much the same case here, primarily with Wuklamot, who is like your candidate character for Dawn Servant, like basically ruler of this massive multicultural empire in the quote unquote new world, Toral. And it goes in directions and places that I really enjoy overall as a story. I shared like a meme about like, oh, it's going to be like a cool, like shonen tournament, like, anime as hell, like tournament. Who's going to be the ruler? Oh, you got to learn about each, like the culture of your country and the different peoples thing. And it's like very on the nose about what it's going to be. And then it like dips hard into like hard ruler decisions and like what it means to also come from a very complicated family. And what it means to like whether or not you put your own personal goals and ambitions in front of the people you love. And it's a very fascinating, like that, all those tie into like, this is a highly complicated, layered family dynamic, which is the ruling family of in Dawntrail, and Wuklamot is a part of that family, and kind of like going through it and the kind of like layers that unpeel as the game goes on really make for an interesting dynamic to kind of go through. But you have to care about like Woklamat and her family. And if you don't end up finding yourself caring about them, this expansion could feel tedious. I see that from other people, and I'm like, that's a valid way to feel about it. I did not feel that way about it. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed Woklamat pretty much from the get-go. There are a few moments where I'm like, I don't know about this, even later in the game, but overall, a solid performance by everybody involved, a really great, cool new region that is using a lot of different kind of topography than we see in anywhere else. And I feel like they really seriously nail this feeling of this is a new world for you to explore. And there's a lot of fun around that. Overall, like, yeah, it's a 9 for me. I really enjoyed the hell out of it. I can't wait for future content on it. It has, like, I want to explain, like, what's really cool about the post-launch content, or, like, the post-campaign content, but I can't, because it's a massive spoiler for the content of it. So it's like, yeah, a lot of, like, the jokes and memes I want to make about it, super spoiler-filled, so I can't. But overall, I think it's a phenomenal time. If it's certainly well worth the journey to, and I really enjoyed, I know some people kind of like, they didn't care for it too much, but I really enjoyed the Endwalker post-launch content patches. So I feel like those would be a great time to enjoy those and then continue on and then play Dawntrail. They feed into it really, really well. And like Dawntrail specifically is like, if you want to take a note from it, in Endwalker, Emmett Selk tells you about like the fabled lost city of gold. That is very much a key centric point of Dawntrail's story, is about the city of gold and the legend around it. Because it turns out the part of the succession right is to find the gates to the city of gold. So that's a very minor I feel okay saying that because it's kind of like in a lot of promotional material as well. So it's out there if you want to see. So if you weren't paying attention, I get, well, you may be like, Cameron, I can't believe you said that, but it's in the promotional material. I feel comfortable sharing that. Overall, it's a phenomenal time. I can't recommend it highly enough. If you have been like, I don't know, Endwalker was such a good tying off point for me with the story of the Ascian saga coming to an end, this is where I don't think it's the best start that they could do, but I couldn't tell you a better way for them to do it. In a post-Endwalker world, how do you continue on the story of Aetheris Eorzea, your warrior of light? How do you continue on that story? I don't know how you could do it better, but theoretically you could, but that's like Schrodinger's cat. Like we have the story we have, and I think it's great. So,
does this feel like it has the potential to be the beginning of the next 10 years of the game, or do you think this is going to be maybe like a shorter do you think they're going to go and do another 10-year saga that is starting here, or do you think they're going to do like, oh, maybe the next couple years are going to be this kind of story, and maybe the next expansion kind of wraps some stuff up here, and then we go to another place or something like that?
My feelings on it are like this. I will say I don't see this expanding out to a 10-year story. Then again, like, the complications with finishing Endwalker are you have the Garlean Empire, like, thing that needs to be dealt with. You have the Ascian stuff that needs to be dealt with. You have the calamity they introduce in Endwalker, tease it in Shadowbringers, bring it into effect in Endwalker, and like you have to deal with that. So there's that entire thing. There's the history of the ancients that they're giving you the resolution for, about who the people of Amarat were. You have like there's a lot of things they have to tie up, and it takes 10 years.
Of those things, I feel like the Garlean Empire is really the only thing that was like introduced in the original Realm Reborn stuff.
The Ascian stuff was also introduced in Realm Reborn with La Habrea, literally being like the person pulling the strings behind the Garleans there. So those two things took them 10 years. I don't see anything launching from where we're at right now to be that. That being said, who's to say?
Sure.
They tie off a lot of things neatly in Dawntrail, and I think one of the things I think that I really enjoyed that they did, that they didn't do the thing that a lot of other MMOs, especially World of Warcraft, is like criminally liable for, which is the big bad you're facing reveals that they weren't actually a big bad. They were just they were doing bad things for the good of everybody because they were trying to be like the preventative measure of this other thing.
I feel like that is in and of itself a staple of Final Fantasy. Like the big bad being like the puppet to the real big bad or something
for sure.
like that. Like,
Yeah,
I'm immediately thinking of like Golbez and Zeromus or
for sure.
Adia and Ultimacia and yeah.
I think that is like a typical thing in Final Fantasy. In World of Warcraft specifically, it's like oh, you killed me, but you don't know I was gaining all this power evilly to be able to challenge this greater evil that's even worse, and now you're lost because I won't be there to save you. That is like, and here's the thing, if it had happened once in World of Warcraft, fine. It's happened like 4 times in World of Warcraft. You can't keep going back to the well. It's like after Shadowlands, that was the one where people were like, we're done with this. You can't keep doing this, Blizzard. You can't be like, oh, but this guy, he was actually like trying to prepare for the real big bad. It's like, we're done. The fans were like, we're done. Like, there's so many videos that like have shown up on like my because they're like, you like MMOs. Here's World of Warcraft content. And to be fair, a lot of that content comes from the fact that I watch a lot of World of Warcraft people go from World of Warcraft to Final Fantasy XIV and be like, I'm in amazement you can have an MMO that is this refreshing. As far as like the story content about it goes. That it treats you like you're smart. It doesn't treat you like you're dumb. That it makes you feel like you're the hero, the most important person in this world, but at the same time a part of a greater tapestry. Something that World of Warcraft has predominantly failed at, in my opinion anyway. And granted, I haven't played since Cataclysm, so... I played a little bit of... Actually, that's not fair. I played War for Azeroth and was greatly disappointed with that and found out that I was not alone in that. So,
Okay.
yeah. Overall, cool as far as that stuff goes. As far as like where we're going forward, I don't see 10 years coming out of this. But I also don't think that they need to. 10 years was a long time to tell a singular like saga and story. I don't think you need to keep doing that. I will say... for a expansion that feels very empty of the other Final Fantasy influences for this game, holy crap, do they come out in spades at the very end. The last couple areas have like so much Final Fantasy stuff going on. One thing in particular that is not a spoiler is one of the last areas is like a western area. Because it's like, oh, you cross the bridge to the North America section of it, which means you're in like the Arizona, New Mexico, like the old, they got saloons, they got like, everybody's gunslinger, everybody's got like guns, like they're all mechanists basically, but just with the guns, not the cool like robot stuff, just the guns. Everybody's got guns, and it's, everybody talks in a Western accent, and it's like, nowhere else in Tyrol does anybody talk like this, but here they do, and that's cool. There's even like hey, we have a nomadic Makote tribe that roams the land. Oh, they're all in teepees.
All right.
No, like nothing else culturally related to like Native Americans on that. Just like, yep, this is our like the Old West. It's very much going to Old West land. A little bit of Westworld going on there. But it has some cool story elements to it, and it's fun. But yeah, that is like, but I want to say the music of that area feels very Final Fantasy VII-ish and Final Fantasy VIII-ish at times, like kind of that like twangy guitar sound that both those games have in their soundtrack. That comes out a lot here. What I expected that from like the Desert West, like the Desert tram area in Shadowbringers, in their like wasteland, that I expected to hear more of that. We get here in spades, and it's like, and that's another thing too. Soken out of his mind. Out of his goddamn mind. Soken. With this soundtrack. There's only one song that I think is not good. Only one. It's Smile. It's just, I just don't like it's the same people that do the vocal stuff for everything else. But the range that they're singing in grates on me for some reason. I'm like, I really hate this. So that's a personal thing. I don't think it's like technically bad. It's just, in my opinion, I don't care for it. But here's the thing: the Dawntrail, like like main theme and battle music is top tier. It's so good. I loved getting into fights just because it would like you get that dun 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 dun, and just like it launches right into it, and you immediately just like, yeah, let me get at it. And playing Viper, which has so many button combos, it felt frantic and energetic, and like I was bouncing all over the place. It was awesome. So yeah, if you're like, hey, camera feels like this way, this is why it's a 9 for me. Is because of like all these little things that just add up to being like this stellar experience that I just loved.
Have you
Also, shout out to Bakul Jaja and the fact that the internet is thirsting over him super hard. He's a giant two-headed lizard man, and the internet loves him.
internet gonna internet? The internet loved fucking Torgal or whatever from Jedi Survivor. So
That's true. You don't like him. I forgot.
I have zero faith in the internet.
That's fair. You shouldn't. Nobody should have faith in the internet.
Yeah.
That's just a safe bet to make.
Have you now that you've like finished the main quest stuff? Did you ever jump in and check out any of the Pictomancer stuff, or
Not yet. I need to do that, but I'm also still like grinding for gear for my for
your Viper?
For my Viper.
Sure.
And like honestly, it's if I'm prioritizing like classes, I'm already running a DPS class. I kind of need to upgrade my like my support or my tank.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care at all in terms of like that aspect. More so like, hey, does the Pictomancer story have any bit of fun?
Oh, sorry,
to it or
I
anything
haven't
like
had
that?
anything for you on
Yeah,
that one yet.
Yeah, that's fair.
Kryl is a Pictomancer, and she's super fun.
Cool.
She's the Lalafell who wears the cat hoodie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, she has like now a different cat hoodie she's wearing.
She already had the Pictomancer vibes from
Hard.
years ago.
Hard.
the Little Realm vibes.
Yeah.
From way back.
Also, you get like her backstory has been teed up since I want to say like Heaven's Word post game content of a lot of like teeing up like, oh hey, there's something special about this character's backstory. Pays off here.
Cool.
It's done extremely well and made me cry. So there you go.
Nice.
I did not cry as much in Dawntrail as I did in Endwalker. Because I cried like a little bitch baby in Endwalker.
Again, Endwalker being the end of a 10-year journey, that even if you'd only been on 5 years, you'd still crammed a 10-year journey into that.
That's true.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yep. Overall, great time.
Cool. Excellent. And then, yeah, I'll have linked the... go check out Cam's like full spoiler-filled stream where he did a big old spoiler cast on it. You can find that in the comments, or I probably had a card up on the top right of the video at some point. Cool.
Yep.
So segueing over to my review for the episode, I played Thank Goodness You're Here, which is a new game from who did it? I know our friends over at Pop Agenda promoted the game. Cole Supper, I think, is the developer behind it. Dang it,
I believe it's named after the two developers of it. So
yeah, I'm checking. Come on, where are you? Oh, there we go. On the Steam page, you'll have it. Yeah, Cole Supper. I was right.
Yep.
And it's published by Panic. They describe it as a comedy slapformer. And I didn't see that until basically just now-ish. But it's a fitting name for the thing. You play as a little traveling businessman guy, and you basically can move and you can slap things. So it makes full sense that it is a slapformer. You get like tasked to go off to this very northern British town called Barnsworth. It introduces the town with like a little vignette of little commercials of like some of the characters that you're gonna see. It's all like 2D animated kind of stuff. And the commercials are like a little pie factory being made, and then like the guy picks it up and he's like, hello, welcome to Tiny Pies. And like, you're not going to find a tinier pie. And then like another ad goes, and then you see like big pies. And there's clearly some animosity and rivalry going on between those two companies or whatever. It is an odd little game. It is very, very British in its humor, very especially Northern British in its humor. Like the first thing that you'll get prompted is basically some sort of jargony, like "Are you from the North?" kind of thing, and like the answers are like "Rate" or "What?" question mark, and I was like, "What?" question mark, because I did not read or follow the thing that was being said, and I think it just affects like the subtitles that you'll get depending on if you play with subtitles or anything like that. A very quirky little game. Probably 2-3 hours if you just kind of like play it straight through. Lots of little vignettes. You're basically just kind of going from like one quest to another, just kind of like helping people move along. Like the first kind of little quest thing you'll get will be like, oh, this guy needs you to mow the lawn, and like you'll go jump on the lawnmower, and then like the screen will switch to like a 2D kind of view, where like you'll just kind of go from left to right with the lawnmower, and you're like in the far background of the shot, and there's like a couple little dandelions kind of being like, I love you, I love you, I love you, and they just say that repeatedly while you're mowing back and forth as you get closer and closer and closer, and then finally like you just run over one of those flowers, and then like the other flower kind of like the camera pans a little bit, and the flower kind of turns to another flower and is just like, I love you, and the cycle repeats, but you are done mowing at this point. It's just like, well, this is a weird little thing. There's a similar sequence later where you're like chopping potatoes to make like French fries, and a couple of the potatoes are talking to one another, and like if you just kind of let the thing play out, they'll be there talking about how big their world is, and kind of how excited they are to be living, and then you of course ultimately have to chop them, and you just like the knife goes down, cuts them in half, and they just scream bloody murder. And then like it immediately jump cuts to French fries in a fryer kind of thing. Yeah, it's a weird little game. There are a few moments like that like got a good chuckle out of me, but a lot of it was like, this isn't really my humor. It's not really my vibe of a game. I would probably say it's like probably a 7 for me. It's a good game. Like I didn't feel like I was wasting my time or anything like that. And there like a couple of things are like fun little puzzles that it's like, okay, you get another early thing is like this guy's got his hand down a drain, and he needs like some sort of lubrication to get his hand back out because he's holding on to a tuppence, and he really wants the money, and so like basically you have to go get like butter to like come be like the lubricant.
Oh.
But the shop is closed, and so you have to go to the pub to get the locksmith, and basically so you kind of just follow a little sequence of like little platformery kind of puzzly things. You go get the butter, and the butter just kind of like comes flying out of the shop, and just like it's a big giant stick of butter, and just kind of slowly slides across the floor into the grate, and like ultimately the guy doesn't even like pull his hand out, he just pulls the full grate out of the ground, and so there's now just a big hole in the ground, and that's how you're going to get to the next area, is you jump down that hole and go through a drain kind of thing. And it's just a weird little quirky game, but there's some humor to it, some fun characters that you'll just kind of like see, like you'll recur and you'll help them out. Like one guy is trying to help the lady who owns the chip shop, and you basically have to first help him get his spanner back from somebody, then you have to go help him get his screwdriver, and then finally his hammer, and like it's just a fun little like series of mini quests that are pretty, like it's all pretty linear. You're gonna pretty much kind of go through and do everything. Like I think the game kind of like locks you off from progressing until you've done certain things, to then you can now move on to the next area and whatnot. So yeah, it's a quirky little funny thing. And yeah, like your mileage is going to drastically vary based on like your humor. Like I got some of the humor from just the amount of like Doctor Who I've watched and just other like British culture things. But I'm sure a ton of this was just flying over my head. And the reason the game is called Thank Goodness You're Here is like pretty much anytime you show up somewhere, whoever needs you to do a thing, basically is like, oh, thank goodness you're here. And then I need this and please help me. And basically you are shuffled off onto that mini quest or whatever. So yeah, it's an oddball little game. It had like beats that reminded me of like South Park vibes, beats that reminded me of like Rick and Morty vibes, but like the super British version of all of those things. So yeah, I think that's pretty much my thoughts on it. I see why some people really like this game and like why it really hits for them. It is that thing like a South Park game, like a Stick of Truth or Fractured But Whole. It is a hard thing to just do a straight up comedy game that doesn't have much else really behind it in terms of like gameplay. So the writing is certainly fun in that aspect. But yeah, the everything else is just kind of like, okay, I'm just going around. A lot of the stuff I was just hitting just to hit that, like, there'll be like garbage bags all over the place and you just whack a garbage bag and it'll split open and a little bit of garbage falls out and it's like, yeah, it doesn't really do anything. Nobody yeah, it doesn't have any. The image changes, and now there's a split garbage bag, or like you'll bang a table and it becomes a little scratched up or dented or something. But then you leave the screen and come back, and it's fine again. So yeah, it was just kind of like all right, or you can like smack people and. Some people will have like a specific reaction where like, oh, this guy's eating ice cream and you smack him and he gets ice cream on his face. And you can basically do that to that guy a few different times over the course of the game. And he's like, kind of like, oh, not again. No. Oh no. And then others, it's just like, okay, yeah, I hit this guy and this guy doesn't really seem to have really anything to do with the overall plot. And he'll just kind of be like, oh, ooh, oh, and that's it. So yeah, weird little game. Fun. I had a fun enough time with it. Again, it was like it would have been like an evening, but I played it, and this was a game that like is so cozy kind of coded that like put me to sleep twice while I was playing it. And again, it's only like a 3-hour game maybe, but it was just like, okay, like I played an hour and was just like, I'm tired, and fell asleep, and then. I woke up the next day and basically did the same thing in the morning until I finally finished it. But yeah, just kind of a chill, cozy game to round out or to kick off August, I guess, for me. So yeah, any questions or anything?
No, I mean, between what you talked about and what I saw from like Kind of Funny's review of it, I'm not like, it's just not for me.
Yeah. Yeah, this does not strike me as it would be a Cameron game.
Yeah. As much as I enjoy absurdist humor, there's such a thing as too British. Sure. And this game I feel is too British.
Yeah, very fair. All right, so yeah, that is Thank Goodness You're Here. So let's throw it back over to you, Cam, for Zenless Zone Zero talk. This is the free-to-play game that you've been playing, the free-to-play gacha game. So apart from it being a gacha game, what is Zenless Zone Zero? What are you doing in the game?
So Zenless Zone Zero is a action, like a high octane action stylish kind of game, like you get from like a Devil May Cry or like a Metal Gear Metal Gear Rising Revengeance,
like a Bayonetta kind of thing.
Yeah, like a Bayonetta. Like this is your character action game that is all about flair and style. One of the coolest things they have going on, because basically as you're going into any battles, you have essentially a team of like a crew of 3 that you're rolling with. And instead of giving you dodge rolls or parries or counter, their counter system and parry system is actually based on swapping out characters. So, I'm about to get hit by this thing. There's like the thing to let me know that it's going to be hitting me. Cool. I'll swap out and it'll do a cool like sub out animation where the other character comes in, does like a cool move damage, and then you start playing as that character and keep going through. And if you build up enough gauge to stagger your enemies enough, you can literally roll through your entire roster that you have, like your trio that you're rolling with, for just enormous amounts of damage. And so it takes away a lot of the monotony of like the slower moments of character action games, and because of this other system helps you kind of like spice that up a lot. So even like very minor enemies that would just be like, I'm not really paying attention, I'm just spamming like shooting or whatever, or like, wow, like these enemies don't really do anything for me, they're just helping build up my combo. They eschew all of that by just doing something very cool like this. Instead of you running through like massive empty dungeons, they don't bother with that. They instead have you, your Bangbu, which is essentially a little like a little rabbit robot, traverses through essentially a tile map that's changed to look like old RCV TVs. Am I saying that right? RCV?
RGB.
I'm trying to remember what like the old like TV, like square box TVs used to be called. I'm blanking on it.
Yeah.
Basically like an old, like they're doing a very cool retro futuristic vibe with the technology, as far as there's like VHS tapes and old box TVs. There is a lot of emphasis on like arcades and like arcades cabinets and other older things like that are just like, for us, aren't that old, or at least don't feel that old for us. But at one point also like the cool futuristic tech that is like your like adventure setup for your character is called the HDD, like your hard drive disk. So it's got
Sorry, were you going for CRT?
CRT, thank you. Yes, a CRT TV. So like that gives you kind of that retro futuristic vibe to it, but at the same time, it's like future enough that like some of this more wild technology fits within this world that it's developing. In addition to that, it has the characters that I've played through in the story stuff have been phenomenal as far as their characterization. You're starting out as, so basically you play as a pair of siblings called Phaethon. You choose one of the siblings at the beginning, and that's the sibling you play as. And that's Wise and Bell. They run a VHS rental store called Random Play, and that's their fully legitimate business. Their quote unquote illegal business or side hustle is they are essentially in these areas called hollows, which is like an interdimensional space that's popped up that will like corrupt anybody who's in it and turn it with something called aether. And that aether will corrupt somebody and turn them into a monster. In order to guide people through hollows to kind of essentially like clear them out, there's things called proxies that basically act as guides. It's basically hollows themselves are virtually unmappable. Any sort of like mapping technology, GPS stuff just doesn't work inside of it. And so people who are skilled enough to kind of like make like high level equations and predictions, as far as like kind of like forecasting, are able to guide people through hollows, and those are called proxies. And so Phaethon, which is the alias the siblings are under, they are like one of the top proxies out there. How do they get you back to like where you're gonna have to level up your proxy level? They do a thing where basically it's like, oh, in order to save your clients, you have to like give up your proxy identity, essentially like have it get wiped out, because it's being held hostage to try to get you to abandon your clients. And so you do that, and in doing so, it leads you into this like very big conspiracy that's like very cyberpunk style in the way that it's dealing with it. It's interesting because it's an interesting mix of like what happens if a cyberpunk world, you are in a cyberpunk world, but it's a dystopian, like not dystopian. Cyberpunk by definition is dystopian, but you're kind of like in where instead of like oppressive corporate like living is going on, what if something traumatic happened and all those corporations got fucked? And so everybody is trying to, you have the government trying to step in and like handle on things. You have corporations trying to get a handle on things. And everybody's kind of like scrambling, trying to like maintain the illusion of control. And that's what they have going on in this world. And so Phaethon, the siblings, are contracted with a group called the Cunning Hares at the very beginning of the game. And it has they are a trio who soon become a quad of fantastic, fun characters that even though I've unlocked other characters, I still main the first three that I have. They are just so much fun to play as. Billy the Kid is my favorite. He is a cyborg he's the cyborg with giant spiky white hair in a red leather jacket. Very cool character. All the characters seem to be really cool. And then I'm going to now talk about the characters that I am not going to ever play. I've talked about this with you before. If you've caught my live streams, you know I've talked about it before. There are some straight up children in some outfits that I'm not cool with in this game. I think that there is a natural fun aesthetic and appeal to have a tiny, like a child or a small, little mini person wielding like big weapons and doing destructive damage. There's something very fun and very like intrinsic about that is like fun and enjoyable. You know, the person named Tiny is a big person. The person called like Big is a tiny person. But guess what? Big is stronger than Tiny. Like that kind of aesthetic and approach to it, like is something very fun and very basic. I also want to put a shout out there to all those folks out there that, you know, live with the non-normative appearances that are stereotypically seen as quote unquote adult figures. This is something that I've seen on the internet, especially around like a few things in the past of where people are saying, hey, I actually am a person who like, these are my real life proportions. And so I don't appreciate you saying that, even though it's I have non-typical proportions. All that being said, there is some stuff in here that is straight up like kind of creepy and not cool as far as some of the character designs go. It's a big knock I have against it. I won't be playing those characters because of it. And guess what? There's plenty of other characters for me to play. But that being said, I did want to put out there like, hey, this is not all stellar great. Like there is some stuff in here that like I'm not down with and I'm not cool with. So if you hear me being glowing and like saying this is a great game and you see these things, I'm aware of those and I don't like them either. I wish that they were different. But I am a man on a podcast who is not embedded in that community. So I don't even know if like other people in that community have been talking about this at all. I would say that for people who are more dedicated into the Hoyoverse communities, they probably have a lot more to say about this. And so I would I'll probably look into it at some point in time, but for right now, this is like my perspective on it. Like I mentioned that stuff earlier by saying, hey, I want to like acknowledge that those people are out there who have like, you know, non-typical proportions that they live with, and that should be acknowledged and respected. That being said, there's also a lot. I've been on the internet long enough to know about some folks out there who like certain things that aren't cool. And those people suck, and we shouldn't be catering to them with our art.
So faux kitty porn aside or whatever, the game obviously
Just
being
Lolita
a gotcha
Lolly
game.
stuff. Lolita Lolly stuff, I think, is a better way to put it.
Okay.
Because it is very much.
I'm saying it having no context for
I know.
for what.
That's why
I'm just thinking of like the very what am I thinking? Like Criminal Girls and those kind of anime vibes and character design of like underage.
Oh, not to like
character stuff.
Not it. The characters do not engage in anything that gets to like that level of like Criminal Girls at all. But these designs are like, come on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, like let's go like Persona and like. Hey, the teacher in like the maid outfit is like, this is a weird vibe, and I don't really feel like this should be like what our 15, 16-year-old protagonist is encountering and dealing with. Very weird stuff. So
yeah. It's in that same vein of those things. It's like, hey, and anybody who wants to just be like, well, Japan, it's like, no, this is also a problem in Japan that people are dealing with and have an issue with.
Yeah.
And it's really comes down to, I know people who love Lolita fashion as far as like that play. Kind of like old Victorian era, like young girl fashion. And like, there's something great about that and appealing about that. And that's awesome. And that's totally cool. But it's also been attached to, unfortunately, Lolita, the novel that the word comes from, which is the name of the child that is victimized in that novelization. That is, sorry, not novelization, but the novel. That like is a real thing it's weird because like, it's his most famous book. He wrote it over a weekend and he didn't really think too much about it. He just had the thought of like, man, isn't it super weird that some people are really obsessed with like young girls? And he wrote this book about it. And it was a cultural phenomenon for all the wrong reasons. And so Like, poor author. That's his legacy. Because he, like, if you ever read the book, The Lolita, it's like the dude is not cool throughout that entire book. So certainly not a hero by any aspect of it. And it was meant to be like a, hey, cautionary tale also. These dudes do exist and they suck. And they're around our children. We got to watch out. I watched enough Law and Order Special Victims Unit to know that these people are out there. And that's also why I'm like, hey, I don't want to be like, oh, she protesteth too much, methinks. I don't want to come off that way, that vibe of it. I just want to be like, as somebody who has been an uncle for most of my life, I am extremely protective of kids and children. And so if you're like, hey, Cam, you're kind of a bit too harsh on this, or you're a bit too focused on this, understand it comes from a place of like protection and instinctive, like that kind of like aspect of it. So, enough of my, like, I'm putting away the soapbox now. I think I've talked about it enough.
So yeah, back to the game, like, mechanics themselves. The gacha mechanic is just like unlocking characters and
unlocking like characters,
outfits and stuff for characters.
No outfits.
Just other characters to play.
It's new characters, as well as, and the bigger thing about it is, there are these called W drives, which are essentially a customization feature. There's some basic ones, but each character also has a character-themed W drive that you can equip on them, that you then can equip additional like modifications and abilities to. Additionally, if you unlock through the gacha mechanic, and this is something they do that I think is cool. Other gacha games in the past, it's like, oh, you pulled the same character. Well, and you'll just get like bonus whatever currency it is. And this one, they're like, no, you're going to get a special currency that lets you unlock what's called a trust level with your with the character, and it gives them additional like good bonuses. So it's like, if I main these 3 characters, I have one character, Nicole, who I have unlocked like 6 levels with, and she does crazy amounts of damage. Like, she's an incredible useful character, and she's like an A rank character, and she outperforms any of my S rank characters. Like, she's phenomenal. Because I've unlocked it through getting her through that gacha mechanic.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that mechanic because that's what they do in a lot of the Final Fantasy gacha games.
That's right. I forgot you are not new to gacha. You played a lot of Ever Crisis.
Yep.
I remember because you were telling me about Ever Crisis, and it made me want to hurl myself off a bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is, luckily enough, I think Hoyoverse has
how much. So like, obviously, with these games, like they're trying to get you to pay money for all these mechanics and all the new character packs or whatever, like the packs to unlock the characters. Since you're not doing that, how steadily do they give you stuff to like unlock? Like, do you get to do pulls, every regularly, frequently kind of thing?
I at least do a pull session once a stream. Usually towards the end of my stream, I do a pull. You get enough currency naturally through the game that lets you like at least pull one thing. There's also one of the great things they do is, in order to drive engagement to bring you back to the game, is they have like daily things that unlock for you every day.
Yeah. That
doing and engaging with it does unlock more of the specialty currency that you use to pull things. You pull them from what's called reels, like it's like film reels.
Yeah.
They're black and white film reels.
Like nothing you're telling me about is shocking to me. I'm more surprised you're like enjoying all of this instead, like especially compared to like, how many currencies does it have, Cameron? Tell me, how many currencies does this game have? Too many that you have to count them in your head.
The thing is that this is the thing. They are distinct and don't bleed over. So you get specific currencies for specific things, and they unlock specific things.
Sure. Yeah, that's how a lot of these games play out.
Yeah. But a thing about it is, like, there is a general currency that you can buy, and then like unlock stuff with.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've not done any of that because I haven't spent a dime on this game.
Yeah, I mean, in going to like the Final Fantasy Ever Crisis or whatever, it was like, oh yeah, if you pay money, you'll get like the pink crystals, and otherwise you'll like unlock, a certain amount of blue crystals every day, kind of thing. And like 2,000 blue crystals gets you like a pull of 10. Character weapons or some stuff like that.
I got you into War of the Visions.
Oh, so, yeah. No, I still hold a grudge and resentment towards that.
It's fair.
Yeah.
That separated by crystals versus gil.
Yeah.
I would say that is probably the greatest like thing that I'd say this is closest to. You have Denny's, which you have a tremendous amount of no matter what, that you use to spend on things. But to pull stuff, you do need like these reels, and you can usually get them for just logging in. Like they're very much open about like that, and unlike other places where it's like you have 6 of them, go ahead and pull 6, and we'll do it automatically. This one, they're like you can either pull, if you have 10, you can pull 10 at once, or you can only pull 1 at a time.
Yeah.
So in a weird way, there's a disincentivizing of you just wanting to spam polls. It is like it's not I got 3. I'll do these 3. But I didn't get what I want. I'm gonna go back in and get more of them and do the buying out on that and then do that again. I feel like if I have one reel and I pull from that one reel, done. Or I have 3. I do them 3 individually and then I'm done.
You're not the target audience for this game.
No, I'm not. That's the thing.
The target audience for this game is
I'm
people
unemployed.
who do that and are addicted to that kind of bullshit.
I'm unemployed, so I'm distinctly not their target audience.
I actively fucking don't play these games anymore.
That's fair. The thing that I will tie it closer to though is the fact that I have been able to play the entirety of this game without being locked behind any content that would otherwise be unlocked. Like you have to unlock with.
I mean that's not what these games are going for. But it's the like how many are they doing? You'll only be able to unlock this character for this week. Are they really preying on like FOMO like that?
No. Once a character is available, they're available. It's just you have a greater percentage of pulling them.
Yeah,
on their debut.
Suddenly become there's now like a 0.02% chance of pulling them in any other pull compared to during their debut. It's like here's now you've got like a 7% chance of pulling them.
And they do the thing where it's like, hey, every 10 pulls you get, you will get an S rank. Mm-hmm. So there is like that guarantee of like, you do like, so if you do the 10 pull option, guaranteed to get an S rank.
Yeah.
But the thing about the W drives is the W drives make up most of that. And so characters, there's very limited on characters, which I think is the smart thing to do. I think War of the Vision's biggest trouble with that game had is there was like 80 billion characters that weren't important to the story that you're playing. But overall, I think that this game there is something very good about the story that it's telling. I'm very engaged in that. I'm not gonna lie, like I would be playing it all the time if I wasn't streaming it, which is the highest praise I can give a gacha game. Like the only reason I'm not playing it regularly right now is because I started on stream and now it's my stream game, and I don't want to and with looking back, if people want to watch because I found out people are watching. Like, they're not watching me while I stream, but they're watching my VODs. Mm-hmm. And I found out that if that's the case, then, I don't want them to miss a story beat on the VOD.
Okay.
So,
if that's the case, you probably want to go through and, number the VODs. Be like, part 1, part 2, part 3.
I need to do that, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I need to also pull them from being live status to actual video status.
Sure. And make them into a playlist of themselves if they're not already there.
Yep, I'm aware. I have things to do on the back end this week I did not expect to find myself enjoying the game enough that I'm wanting to play it on the stream every day. So
sure. All right. Well, any final thoughts on Zenless Zone Zero? There is no end to the game, right? It's just they're always gonna be releasing new content until the game dies.
The story does have a current endpoint where there's no more story. They haven't put out more of it yet.
Sure.
But
it's just that's the end so far. They did the same thing in Ever Crisis and all the others. Like, every few months they'll release. Here's the new set of chapters for you to play through. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, I think War of the Visions was like the only one that didn't do that.
No, it did.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
I never got to that point.
You just stopped playing before. Yeah.
Good to know. I didn't know that.
Yep.
You will never forgive me for that, and you shouldn't. I'm to blame.
Yeah. Well, you and Square Enix. Yeah. Fuck Square Enix for just doubling down on all of those kinds of bullshit things.
I just want it to be known. I have nothing to do with
preying
Ever Crisis.
On the, it's all preying on the your love of Final Fantasy. So yeah, we'll jump in. Oh, you really want to get this character? You want to unlock this character? You want to unlock this? This.
It's people's love of Final Fantasy meeting their love of gambling.
Yeah. This is why my aunt's like, you should come play bingo with me, and I'm like, no. I'm not going to do that.
Dude, there's a reason I don't play slot machines, or I don't do any of that when I go to like cruises or casinos or anything. It's blackjack and blackjack only.
All right. Moving on. Metal Gear Solid. So after Dragon Age Inquisition, I was like, you know what else I'm feeling in the mood for? Another game from almost 10 years ago. And so I booted up Metal Gear Solid 5 in tandem with picking up the like Metal Gear collection that they put out last year. That's like Metal Gear 1, 2, and Snake Eater. And then like a couple of the like Metal Gear games that aren't Metal Gear Solid, like the OG ones. So Metal Gear Solid 5 was my number 2 game of the year in 2015, despite having never played a Metal Gear prior to that. I loved the gameplay that much. It only lost out to Fallout 4. So yeah, another game I revisited this year. I'm nostalgic for 2015 apparently. 2014, 2015 this year. I just today finished the last of the missions. There are 50 missions in the game, like 30-ish story missions. I forget how the actual count of story missions, and then like the post game introduces a few new missions, and then like a lot of like, okay, this is a replay of an earlier mission, but now you have to do it with total stealth, where if you get caught, boom, it's game over. You gotta start over again, or subsistence kind of things where it's like you go into the mission with no items, like you don't get to build your loadout. It's you go in with nothing and you have to acquire everything and complete all the objectives and all that stuff. You do the mission. Every mission has like a few, like the kind of the main objective and then some optional objectives. Every mission you get ranked, with S rank being the top tier. And the only things in the game I haven't done at this point are all objectives and all S ranks. Probably got about half S ranks though at this point. And like those are the things that are keeping me right now from the platinum trophy. A lot of this I'd already done kind of the first time around, but I had not played every mission of the game. A lot of the like late, like extreme difficulty kind of things I hadn't bothered with last time around, but I've finished those this time around. It's Kojima's swan song to Metal Gear, as he was being kind of pushed out of Konami. Famously an unfinished game that like if you have like the collector's edition, you'll see like here's what Act 3 would have been.
So crazy.
Because otherwise it is just that thread just kind of ends, and there is no resolution, no payoff.
Especially like I've seen some of the stuff from like the art book leaks about like a lot of the stuff that would have been in there. It's like,
yeah. But yeah, it's a fun. It is, I mean, gameplay still holds up, still very fun. Running around either the Afghanistan or North Africa like environments. There's a series of outposts, and each mission's going to be like, all right, you're kind of confined to this small part of the map, but it's still like each of those missions is going to have like 4 different outposts, and like one of them is like the main outpost that you need to infiltrate. But hey, an optional objective might be go free a prisoner from this other outpost, or go acquire the armored vehicle from this place, or something like that. But yeah, lots of fun. I love it is very addicting. Just like stealthing in, hitting soldiers with the tranquilizer, and then Fultoning them out, so that they can go back to Mother Base and be basically brainwashed into being your soldiers now, and just kind of building up your armed forces that way, which then in turn allows you to like R&D new gear. You can do kind of like deployment missions where it's like, okay, one of the things I loved about this game initially and still a lot of fun now is as you go through the game, the enemies will kind of adapt to your playstyle. So I go in, do a lot of headshots. So outposts will start getting shipments of helmets, and headshots become harder to do. Or if I throw a sleeping grenade out, outposts will start getting gas masks. And then you can kind of do deployment missions to kind of counteract that, where you basically just send some of your troops off, and like 25 minutes later or whatever, the mission is complete, and boom, they've taken out the gas mask facility, and so then the outposts go back to not having gas masks for a little while. So there's a lot of fun in there. And yeah, just it's been a fun joy to kind of revisit that game. Like always trying to kind of find the optimal loadout. Can I do this mission full stealth, or is it going to be that classic thing of like, well, somebody spotted me, so now it's just guns blazing, and I'm just beating the shit out of everybody, and switching to my automatic and just being like, all right, no more non-lethal stuff. You've annoyed me too many times. I'm just going to shoot you. Yeah. And then in tandem with this, I jumped into the first Metal Gear Solid for the first time.
Yeah.
And I admittedly jumped into it a couple weeks ago. Have not actually gone back to it yet, but
That's fair.
I got up through the Psycho Mantis fight,
Which is like the legendary fight.
Finished the Psycho Mantis fight. For the and this as kind of mentioned at the top, my first time playing through that game, but as somebody who's followed games as much as I have, I knew about the Psycho Mantis fight. One of the things I love about the little collection here is that obviously you're playing this on like a PS4 or PS5 or whatever. But in the kind of main menu, you can basically load save data, and basically it'll be like, all right, here's your grid of an old PS1 style memory card with 15 slots. What save data do you want to load on here? And so I was like, all right, let's throw Suikoden on there, and let's throw Castlevania Symphony of the Night on there. And that's how Psycho Mantis can read your mind and be like, ooh, I see you like Suikoden. Or I see you like Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Quick question for you. How did they handle the controller swapping?
So I fortunately had read about this prior to doing anything. There's two things. One, there are and this works in the original game too. There are busts around that room that if you shoot the busts, they're basically helping Psycho Mantis's powers.
Oh, okay.
So if you shoot and destroy all of the busts, then it just kind of becomes normal, and you can continue using your controller.
I never knew that. I did that fight raw back in the day. That was one where you scooted up close to the TV and were ready to go at any minute.
Yeah. The way it's handled in this is if you push the PlayStation button and kind of go back to the home, and then you come back into the game, it gives you a menu, and it's you can choose controller output. You can switch from controller 1 to controller 2, and then you'll get the why am I not seeing your moves, or whatever he says to kind of account for that.
One of the wildest fights of all time, and man, that is, and this is so. Yeah, keep going.
It's, knowing those Kojima-isms about this game going into it, certainly, it's the kind of thing I would have had no patience for that if I didn't know these things and just been why the fuck can't I kill this guy? What the hell? Same as similarly, the girl you meet kind of in the base, Myrna, yeah. Somebody mentions at one point
her butt.
Lots of people mention her butt. Yeah, that is absolutely a problematic piece of this
100%.
game. But no, I was
once you find out the reason why, you will feel shame.
Yeah. Nope. No, Kojima, you're just a horn dog.
He's old as shit.
Yeah.
He just looks so good looking. He's so good looking. People forget that he's old as fuck.
But no, they say somebody says oh, what's her call sign or her codec number? Oh, it's it's on the back of the CD case, and it's a very meta thing where like, hey, yeah, if you go back and look at the back of the original Metal Gear Solid case, one of the screenshots will be her codec number, and they fortunately kept that, and one of the screenshots on the back of the PS5, PS4 DVD, Blu-ray case.
Well, you gotta keep that in, man.
Is that so you can actually call that person and know they don't always do that, or if you buy it digitally you're fucked. So yeah, or you have to like go to the manual or whatever.
I think I think you need to like go to like the store page.
I mean, or just in this day and age, you just look it up on
you
Google it. Yeah.
What's Mero's codec?
Yeah. Or you go to like a lot. Admittedly, a lot of what I've been doing has just been going through the IGN wiki of the game.
Classic.
Because I don't have the like the first fight, the Revolver Ocelot fight I did, which was there's a little extra interesting layer because he's an ally in Metal Gear 5, and clearly something has happened between then and Metal Gear Solid 1 with all the timeline stuff. But like that fight was easy.
You know what
enough.
I just realized? It's kind of you're almost played them in chronological order.
Yeah, I mean,
if you had played 3 first,
yeah, Snake Eater's first, then Peace Walker, which I haven't played.
Peace Walker's top tier; it's so good.
Yeah, and Peace Walker basically leads into Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain.
Yeah,
and then then do we? I feel like there's something between Phantom Pain and Metal Gear 1, but
there is not.
Is there not?
Nope.
Okay.
Because Metal Gear Solid 5, Phantom Pain, brief spoiler, because there's no third act to it. We've kind of already spoiled that.
Yeah.
The third act would have had the conclusion
would have been connecting the dots.
Would have been connecting the dots because you basically where the game ends now is the revelation that you're not.
You're not Big Boss.
You're not Big Boss. You're
Big Boss is an idea.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. Yeah.
Venom, the idea of like Venom Snake and Big Boss is Big Venom Snake remains at Mother's base and that's who you fight in Metal Gear 1. Like the NES game, is you fight that one. And then why is he back as the boss in Metal Gear 2? Turns out that's the actual big boss that you're fighting in Metal Gear 2. So it kind of sets up the idea that Big Boss's plan was to come at his dream from like 2 different angles. Mm-hmm. So maintaining the facade of working with the Patriots in as a member of Fox, and like doing like all of that stuff with Zero and everything. And then on the flip side of it, you had Venom Snake, who everybody thought was Big Boss, doing the kind of mercenary angle that sets up Metal Gear 1. And then they were supposed to meet and converge in Metal Gear 1's because Big Boss is kidnapped in Metal Gear 1. It wasn't a kidnapping, it was time to pass it on, but Snake infiltrates, saves Big Boss, and thwarts that handoff. And so it's kind of a like revelation of that aspect of it. And so it's like Kojima's kind of filling in his own plot holes with it.
That he himself has created over the years, yeah.
Well, before it was like, we brought back the boss from the last game, and he's now the boss again this time. And the Kojima's like, well, I can't like rely on NES logic. How do I fill this in? And he kind of like let his mind sprawl out from there. Mm-hmm. And then we never got to see it finished because Konami sucks.
Yeah. So playing through, like I said, I already have very little patience for the controls.
Bullshit? Yeah.
I'm going back to Metal Gear 1.
Gotcha.
The controls are atrocious and terrible. I hate going back to like PS1 era stuff like this. Controls are bad. The limited inventory and the thing is like, I hate that I have to have like a key card equipped to open a door instead of so it's taking up my item slot, so I can't easily or quickly switch to a more helpful item in that moment or anything like that. So like a ration or something like that to heal myself up after I've been shot a bunch. So I don't like a lot of just the game design of this first one coming off of Metal Gear Solid 5. So that's been a pain. Even on like easy, I'm just getting my ass handed to me a lot, and it's not fun. I'm not having a fun time with that to the point that I said like, hey, I'm probably gonna need you to change your text or your notification ringtone because
it's giving you PTSD from.
I now associate the codec with death, with dying in that game, and so every time I hear it, I just have a fiery rage at you.
I mean, if I'm being fully transparent here, though, my codec call is the codec call from Metal Gear Solid 2.
You know what doesn't make a fucking difference? That. Because it's the same fucking codec call. You can say whatever you want to say about it being different. It's not in any kind of substantial way. It is a fucking annoying, like it's, and I'm running into this, and I hate this in Metal Gear Solid 5 too. The commentary that they give you on game overs, the snake. I'm like, shut up, shut the fuck up. Just let me get back into the game. I just want to get back into the game and try again. I don't need your commentary bullshit. I don't need any of this fucking nonsense.
Game over.
Oh God. Oh yeah. Like this is very much, I hate Soulsborne games for this exact same bullshit. So yeah, like those pieces of it are pissing me the fuck off. And so yeah, I was just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna follow a guide. Especially trying to do like the tank thing a couple times, I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to even, like, how the fuck am I supposed to do damage to this guy in the tank? Oh, I'm supposed to just throw grenades at the opening of the tank to kill the guy in there. And then another guy just pops out and finishes the fight. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Vulcan Raven.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, I got to the Psycho Mantis fight, finished that one up. And yeah, like the game is not aging in a fun way with all the Myrna stuff and just be all right, you sick horn guy. And I
Meryl.
Is it Meryl?
It's Meryl.
Is it Meryl?
It's Meryl.
Okay.
Not Myrna. It's Meryl.
Okay. I don't know where Myrna came from.
I do not know. You said it earlier. I was like, I'm gonna let that one go, but it's like I got you on this one.
Metal Gear Solid 1 lady. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, all the like, oh, she's got such a nice behind kind of nonsense. Like, shut up. Like, just shut up.
Have you met Hal yet?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You would have met Hal by this point.
Yeah. Hal's in there. Oh yeah, because in between the tank fight and the Psycho Mantis fight was the Cyber Ninja fight.
Yes.
Where you are basically like saving Hal, and like Hal also I hate because he's like Metal Gear Solid 5. Huey is the Emmerich that is like with you. Basically, Hal's dad is with you for a lot of that, and he's on your base the entire time, but he's constantly like working against you or and like,
oh, he's a shitbag. Yeah,
he sucks. And so I'm like, I don't like your entire. I don't like the Emmerich family line. You all suck.
His mom's awesome though.
Strangelove.
Yeah.
I didn't like. I've not encountered her in the games I played. She's dead in Phantom Pain. So
yeah.
And I like if she was in Ground Zeroes, I did not go back and like revisit replay Ground Zeroes.
I like Strangelove a lot. She's great. Huey is a shitbag. Hal gets better.
Okay.
No, Hal fucking sucks in this game. Holy shit, he sucks.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, this is a late 90s game and has all the problems of
a late 90s game.
They're in with a late 90s game. So,
late 90s were not a cool time.
Yeah. That was another thing, like the cyber ninja stuff was another bit where it's like, okay, like what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? Oh, I'm just supposed to do like the close quarters combat stuff with him instead of like trying to shoot him from a distance or whatever. Okay, fine.
Use like stun grenades and like smoke stuff and whatnot.
No, the stun grenade specifically didn't do it. That's like, right. That was what I tried first because I was like, oh, this will take out your electronics.
Stun grenades is
like they work, but they do very little in terms of damage. And it's very
but it is more to be close quarters. Like you're supposed to use your CQC on that one.
Yeah, but like if you use a stun grenade, it gives him like an invincibility window, so you can't do CQC on him until like that
passes.
window's done or whatever. Yeah. And then he'll come right back at you. So like it was all right, hide around a corner and kind of like wait until he comes to me and then get the CQC stuff. But yeah, the reason I haven't got back to it is just I'm like, I far prefer the Metal Gear 5 gameplay, and I've played the opening of Metal Gear 2 once. So I know the big twist of Metal Gear 2, but like I've done the like the battleship bit of the opening of Metal Gear 2.
The tanker.
Yeah, the tanker
portion, yes.
Yeah. So I've done that, and that's another one like, I remember bad horny Kojima, and then they're like, oh, you go into a locker room and there's a pinup model on the thing, and it's just like, oh god.
I mean, in Metal Gear Solid 1, you literally can pick up like porno mags to distract enemies with.
I've not found those, or if I've found them, I've not seen that's the script, the item description.
Oh, okay.
I also still don't understand the fucking box thing.
The box?
The cardboard box thing.
You hide in it.
I don't understand why that is a hiding thing. Like, why aren't people surprised that a cardboard box is upturned? Like, it's a dumb game mechanic thing that people just accept because of Metal Gear.
Sorry, I'm like, I don't know, because like it's a facility that probably has a lot, like there's a lot of boxes in there.
Sure.
If you just see a box, you're just gonna be like, oh, that's a box, and you move past it, like you're not paying attention to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there's this box that's just in the middle of the room. Nothing suspicious about this at all.
To be fair, it's not their base; they took it over. For all they know, it could have been in the middle of like a shipment. You know?
Sure. Yeah. No. Except the problem here with your logic there, Cameron, is they just made that route a minute ago, and this box has appeared suddenly on the same route that they're taking. So no, no, it's just a stupid gimmick. It's just a stupid mechanic in a game from the 90s.
I mean, I hate to break it. It's the least egregious one. Like, there's so many way more egregious ones.
Sure.
I just think it's like, you're like, I hate this. I'm not enjoying my time with this game, and I hate that the box is a thing.
Yeah, it is indicative of so many other things. Like the thing that I definitely needed the guide for was like where am I supposed to go? Oh, I'm supposed to find a slightly discolored wall and then like plant C4 on that slightly discolored wall. Well, I'm never in fucking first person view, so okay, and now I got to figure out how to do that, and yeah, so I didn't like those aspects, and that's in the lead up to the
Revolver Ocelot fight.
Yeah, the Ocelot fight. Yeah,
because he kills the DARPA chief.
Yeah, or no, he doesn't kill the DARPA chief.
He's holding him.
Everybody dies of mysterious heart attacks, which I've not uncovered what's actually going on there yet.
It's a cool thing.
I don't know that it is.
That's fair.
Is it nanotech? Is it nanomachines? I feel like it always comes down to nanomachines with...
It's not fair that you know the meme before it was a meme, okay? Like, this is so before the meme of nanomachines that came about out of Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is so far before it that everybody was like, whoa, it was the 90s. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nanomachine technology, it sounds crazy. And it's not necessarily nanomachines themselves.
Sure. It's nanomachines.
There's more to it than nanomachines.
Yeah, of course. Anyway, so that's where I'm at with Metal Gear Solid.
Like, it was a nanomachines? Fuck you. How dare you? How dare you?
I just had a flashback to high school girlfriend. We watched 7, which would have been like probably
God,
8 years after 7 had come out or something like that.
That movie's fucked up.
It is very fucked up. But like she loved the movie, and so like we were watching it, and she got very mad when I immediately pegged Kevin Spacey as like the murderer. And I was like, "Well, it's Kevin Spacey."
Yeah, it's Kevin Spacey in like doing some like minor background role. Of course,
it was like he was like a cameraman or something walking by. I was like, "Oh, is that Kevin Spacey? Is he the murderer?" And she was like, "What the hell?" Like, I honestly,
I'm sorry you put in an iconic actor as a background feature at a murder scene. Yeah. Guess what? That's going to clue me in that that's Kevin Spacey's the murderer.
Yeah.
Turns out Kevin Spacey, actual real life piece of shit.
Yeah, indeed.
Who would have thought? Not really method acting at all, just being his true self. Yeah,
not method.
maybe not that
like he wasn't method acting. He didn't actually murder a bunch of people.
That's fair.
So
that movie is super
he didn't
fucked
actually
up.
put Gwyneth Paltrow's head in a box.
Dude, that whole scene when he she begged me not to do it for the life of her child. It's just like, and that's the thing that sends him over is because he didn't know she was pregnant, and it's like the scene that breaks me down terribly is the lust like crime scene with the guy.
I've watched the movie the one time. I feel like I have a image of it, but we don't need to dive down down the seven.
We literally
rabbit hole
can't
here
without getting this
on
podcast like banned on
yeah.
platforms. It's so messed up, and the actor who's doing it is, I forget, he's a character actor. But it's there's so many great scenes in that movie. It's Brad Pitt, it's Morgan Freeman, it's Kevin Spacey, it's Gwyneth Paltrow. It's just this brilliant thriller of like this really fucked up story, and it's great.
Yeah.
And I don't watch it anymore because, well, I've only watched it a couple of times. It's not a movie you watch to feel good. It's honestly massive red flag for your high school girlfriend.
It was just she liked the psychological thriller, and we were just looking for a movie to watch.
Okay, it's not like that. She's like, this is my favorite film of all time.
No.
Okay, if that's her favorite film of all time, that's a red flag. Would you kill? It's like, would you love me if I was a worm? It's like, would you kill me if I would you kill my murderer if he put my head in a box? It's like, yeah, probably.
Anyway, Metal Gear Solid. Those are my thoughts. Really enjoying Metal Gear 5. And like looking ahead to the rest of this year, there's a handful of games that I'm interested in, but there's a pretty good chance that I'll continue playing through the rest of the Volume 1 collection to get through 1, 2, and Peace Walker. And also, hey, maybe by the time I actually get to through Metal Gear 2, maybe the Peace Walker Delta will, or not Peace Walker, Snake Eater. Maybe the Metal Gear Snake Eater Delta will be out. And I can play just the intense new graphic version of the game.
I'm just sorry. I'm just thinking about all the like really awesome moments that I know you're just going to think are dumb bullshit.
Sure, yeah. Yep.
Some of my favorite moments in gaming, you're just gonna be like, "That's dumb as hell." It's like I'm reconciling myself with that. I'm like preparing myself with that knowledge now, so that when it happens, I'm not disheartened in the future. I'll take my disheartening now, please.
Like as somebody who grew up with like like talking to Logan about Final Fantasy stuff, it's like I've had that feeling plenty of times.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. This is my turn to feel it because we're both Final Fantasy fans, so we both love those moments.
Yeah, or like Kingdom Hearts stuff and like the bullshit places Kingdom Hearts goes. I still enjoy the bullshit places Kingdom Hearts goes that I know. But yeah, it's impossible to explain to other people.
Similar to Kingdom Hearts, the best way to play one of those games is is almost impossible to do now, which is Kingdom Hearts. The best way to play Chain of Memories is on the GBA.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the best way to play Metal Gear Solid 1, in my opinion, is still Twin Snakes, which is only available on the GameCube.
Sure.
Great, like the graphical update from PS1 to GameCube, especially that leap, is phenomenal. They put in all the quality of life features that you get out of like Snake Eater, as far as like, first person perspective, aiming modes, and like all sorts of stuff that are just like top of the line in that game. And honestly, I feel bad whenever he's like, oh, I'm going to be playing Metal Gear Solid 1 the way that it was originally done. It's like, and in the back of my head, it's like, tell them about, it's like the whole, like, that's great. And then like behind like my intrusive thought saying, tell them about Twin Snakes, tell them about Twin Snakes. But there's no use of it because you can't play it.
Yeah. We talked about this at one point that I had Twin Snakes at one point in time.
You just never played it.
Back when I had when I had a physical GameCube, but that's one of those games I was like, oh, I don't like. I think my sister gave me a copy of Twin Snakes as like, but she gave me, it was like when they were doing the GameCube for $99 or something.
Oh,
so I got that.
And a life sale.
I got that as a Christmas gift along with like Snake Eater or Twin Snakes and like a couple other games. I was like, oh, I've never played the Metal Gear game, so oh well. And it was one of the games that I traded in, to Game Crazy or whoever back in the day when I was like a broke college student that needed some money. And yeah, I would love to have that back and the value of it.
Yeah, one of that
even there, like even if I had it, I'm not gonna go and like
Play it that way now.
yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm not.
You have to pull out the Wii.
Exactly. I'd have to pull out a Wii and deal with that, and that's not worth my time. I will much rather be like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna play this version on the console that I already have plugged in and on. So
That's fair.
anyway, let's wrap up here with Mecha BREAK. Cam, tell me about Mecha BREAK and what this one is.
So, yeah.
And just to go into it, I was like, "Is this the Gundam game that you're excited for?" And you're like, "No, it's about giant robots fighting." I'm like, "So you see how I get confused, right?"
Yeah. This one is being developed by Season Games, which is they're a former mobile developer. This is very much in the same vein of like Stellar Blade and like these games of like mobile developers making that next leap up to a full PC console game. It is one where you like basically it starts off, the game kicks off where you are on a space station and you're about to hop into a giant robot. You're attacked. You hop into the giant robot that's available to you. You pilot your way back down to Earth after learning like the tutorials, like escaping the space station, and then you're in it's like a corridor of enemies that you're fighting through, learning combat stuff, and then you get to the real crux of it, which is a giant mech that you're fighting with two other mechs as you're like trying to take it down. There's a story mode to it that they give you very little in the playtest. The playtest is mostly about like testing their servers and testing like their actual game itself. It's a beta, it's an open, and it's really more of it's not a stress test for their servers so much as it is like an open beta test getting feedback from the community. This is the first one that they've done. They put it out there. I was able to snag a key after watching like about an hour on Twitch. It's going to be going for a while because then they are going to be doing their server tests at the end. There's no release date for this game. So I won't know, but I don't know if it's going to be free to play or it's probably going to be like, probably a $60, $70 game. Quality wise, graphic wise, it's up there. There is still some like serious jankiness as far as like frame rate drops and stuff when it comes to like loading into your mech. But I'm happy to say that for the most part, your actual in-game combat with the mechs, especially fighting against other players, feels great. It feels great. I found myself super attached to these light and medium fighter assault mechas that are based around turning into a jet basically and flying around and like shooting people, and like adding support. Like the medium one that I've really attached myself to is called the Air Striker, and it is just like powerful single shots and then dropping bombs or launching missiles, and it's all about that like long to medium combat with that mech, and it's been a blast playing it. I will say the the beta test they're doing, they're like, hey, this is not like you would when you get the game when it's probably going to come out, where you're going to have to slowly gain currency after you do the introduction stuff. They give you a crap ton of currency and just want you to go wild. Buy all the mechs, unlock all the mechs, play all the mods, like really go through this. They give you access to just about everything they possibly can to get you to test it. And so like they're being very legitimate about that, in the fact of like, we're not wanting you to like, how long will it take you to like unlock our season pass? Like some other beta games do or beta versions of games do. They really want people to enjoy the game. And I have to say I've enjoyed the hell out of it. It's a blast. I'm really curious depending on how its story mode goes and also like when the game actually will come out. Gundam Breaker 4 comes out next month. And that's, and the crux about this and the reason why like I think like Armored Core 6 is still a better game than this one that I've played so far is in Mecha BREAK, you are playing just single units and you can modify those units and customize the units, but the units themselves are set. So in Armored Core and then in Gundam Breaker, you're able to swap out parts to have like different arms, different legs, different boost devices, different weapons stuff, and but you're customizing your own personal unit. In this one, you are attaching to like a unit class, and it is what it is. And I think that will be either its strength or its weakness when this game eventually comes out. Is its like incorporation of customization. That being said,
I mean, it's a multiplayer game, yeah.
I mean,
I'm
yeah.
been watching like videos what you've been talking about.
Yes, there is multiplayer right now. That's what's available to play. But there is like a single player content story going on in that game as well.
I mean, it seems like if they're kind of pre-designed mechs that are like not customizable, then it's going to be
about
way
balance.
easier to balance. Then.
Yep, it's a balance thing, especially because there are, instead of just being light, medium, heavy, there are wide distinctions. There is heavy defense, heavy assault, medium, light versions of both of those. You have support, heavy support, long, heavy long range, short long range. Not short long, light long range assault. Melee focused, assault, like close range assault ones. There's a lot of variety to it. Some of them are named after like dinosaurs. So each of the different, this is what's really cool about it, is each of the different like quote unquote manufacturers of these mechs have a theme to them. So there's one manufacturer that makes them and they're named after dinosaurs. So you have like the Stego, the Triceratop, there's others that are like more like modern animal themed, like panther, falcon, and then there are some that are like more like traditional like mech, like robots, like air striker, or and some others.
The selling point you're making right now is, hey, the gun manufacturers in Borderlands? It's like that.
It is like that, yeah, a little bit,
yeah,
a little bit. Not as like wildly stylized as that. But it has those themes to it. Also, when you create a character, you select like what country your character's from, and like that ties into the story in a larger point. I don't know how, they haven't explained that, but it is like, it's very bare bones to introduce you to the game with the story mode. Your intro on the story mode, but I think that the big seller on that was fighting the giant robot with NPC mechs was a lot of fun.
Couple things that I found in my searching this is Mecha BREAK Gundam. Mecha BREAK is Gundam meets Overwatch, and it's great, according to videogames.si.com. I would sportsillustrated.com.
Yeah.
And then is Mecha BREAK F2P free to play? Upcoming free to play mech game Mecha BREAK will not be pay to win. So it is free to play. It is a free to play game.
There we go. Hey,
anticipated to be a free to play game.
I'll let you know then. It's certainly.
I'll say it's targeting free to play. That's never guaranteed. The Disney Dreamlight Valley was a free to play targeted thing, and then they ultimately were like, "Hey, we're actually going to keep this a paid thing." Plus microtransactions. So yeah,
we'll see. We'll see what happens with Mecha BREAK, but honestly, I can see this being as a very fun thing, especially as they introduce new mechs. Cool thing is you design your pilot and you can do a massive amounts of customization to them. So really awesome stuff with that too.
Cool.
But yeah, not a whole lot coming out of it. That isn't just like I've played probably 6 hours of it and I've had a blast. Actually, I can probably give you an actual fair assessment of how much time I put into it. I've put in 3 hours.
Cool.
Roughly.
All right. Thank you for the update there. And I think that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you, Cam, for talking and catching up on games and stuff with me. You can follow Cameron at RevCabot, 2 B's and 2 T's. Anything you want to give a shout out to there, Cam?
Yeah, I mentioned it. We mentioned it at the top, and we mentioned it throughout. I am streaming, so come check that out. If I'm not substitute teaching, I will be streaming. So you will usually get a tweet out from the That Nerdy site, Twitter. If you're not following us there, make sure to follow us. You'll get a tweet notification that I am going live. And this week, I will probably be picking up and playing more Zenless Zone Zero, since that seems to be my streaming go-to.
You also did last week, right? You did the raid in Final Fantasy.
Oh, that's true. Sorry, yeah, actually.
Dawntrail, so you'll do the Dawntrail raid on Tuesday.
On Tuesday will be raid day for Final Fantasy XIV. Dawntrail, I will be doing the 8-man raid series for that. So, because I gotta grind for my gear, man.
Yeah, there you go. All right, you can follow me at Trevor J. Starkey. Thing I will shout out is this month's That D Plus show. We're doing 90s movies, 90s live action movies from our youth. We did, we did Camp Nowhere last week. This week will be Heavyweights, which, spoiler, we've already recorded. Go check that out. We're doing 90s movies all month long. If you are nostalgic for that era, come swing by and hear our thoughts on some of these 90 films. You follow all of us over at That Nerdy Site or go to thatnerdysite.com for all the latest from us. Once again, if you liked what you heard, please remember to rate, review, like, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Thank you for listening. As always, stay nerdy and be good to each other.